In a world where voices are silenced,
Please.
one man refuses to lie down.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
He's been punted not once,
40 years they've been trying.
not twice,
You couldn't fire somebody if they were horrible, doing a terrible job.
but 3 times.
You're fired.
He doesn't tell you what to think, but gives you something to think about. Welcome to the Bonafide Podcast with Luke Boner. And he's not
All right, here we go.
done
Hold your ears, folks.
yet.
It's showtime.
Hello, good evening, good morning, and good day, and welcome to episode 114 of the Bonafide Podcast. You sure it's 114?
Yeah.
Wasn't it 114?
No, I got the
Oh,
on the last one. It's
Kill-
fine. It's fine.
I've been telling everyone this is 115.
No.
114. We didn't think we'd get to 3. So it's a bonus. It's a
Yeah.
Luke bonus. And remember to follow or subscribe to the show. The merch store is openbonafidepod.com. Hit the link. That's in the description. Long weekend is over. Not a long weekend for some. We're going to find out why in Queensland.
Oh, yeah.
David Littleproud is not celebrating a long weekend. Do you know what they get off?
What?
Grand Final Day.
Oh, yeah.
In
Is that the same with Melbourne?
Melbourne Cup Day.
Oh.
And yes, they have a grand final day. You're correct, Kelsey. But I got a funny feeling that the Melbourne Cup public holiday and the grand final day is only for people who live in Melbourne. Is it? I don't know. It's a whole state. But anyway, we've got plenty to talk about today. It's a little bit shorter episode today because of the long weekend, but plenty to talk about. And it's a sad day today because one of the greatest Australians ever, former Australian of the Year, Richard Scolyer, Kelsey, has died overnight. He was aged just 59 and he had been fighting. He'd been fighting what has been described as the worst brain cancer or the worst kind of brain cancers. He fast-tracked a revolutionary cancer treatment and he actually volunteered to be, I don't know, a guinea pig, patient zero, where it was a radical approach to treating his kind of tumour. It did prolong his life. He was originally given about 8 to 10 months to live. He lived 2.5 years longer than he thought he would. But he didn't curl up in a ball and feel sorry for himself, Kelsey, a bit like Neil Danaher, who we lost last week through MND. He went 100% into trying to fight this disease. He was preaching awareness and an absolute hero. As I say, he was a joint winner of Australian of the Year. And we think about him today. Somebody that knew him well was Mark Beretta, great friend of this podcast. Beretta, as you know, is a wonderful spokesperson for Tour de Cure. Professor Richard Scolyer joined him on the Tour de Cure ride when they were going through Tasmania. Professor Scolyer's hometown is Launceston. And Mark Beretta will join us a little bit later with a wonderful story about this amazing Australian. We'll share that with you a little bit later. David Littleproud, our man on the inside, also joins us. He has things he wants to say about Richard Scolyer. But the other interesting thing out today is the news poll, which shows that One Nation is marching even further ahead. And he shares his thoughts on that. And there are calls today to rejig the school curriculum. And the term that's being used is we are teaching our kids babble. And there are things on the curriculum that need to be taken out and things need to be put back in. And should we be concentrating on more than just the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, and teaching kids at school life skills? And we'll talk about that and other things with David Littleproud. And Truckie Tuesday with Rod Hannifey, we have a special guest, Kelsey.
Oh, yeah. Mike Williams.
Mike, who's otherwise known as the Oz Trucker. He is a massive character, and we'll talk about that. Oh, Rod Hannifey has an issue on David Littleproud's electorate.
Yeah.
Dalby, one of his towns in his huge electorate. Did you know that David Littleproud has the largest electorate in Australia?
There you go.
By square kilometres.
There you go.
It's bigger than the entire size of Victoria. Anyway, Rod Hannifey has an issue with some of the roads and culverts, and he's put out a challenge to David Littleproud to get up into the truck and drive with him over these terrible roads so he can see firsthand what's going on. Let's see if David Littleproud picks up the challenge. Shall we do that?
And I am not showing my face today because it's a long weekend, so deal with it.
You've been in bed all morning.
Yeah.
She ordered Macca's to the house.
Yeah.
I said, I'll go up and get you a proper bacon and egg roll.
Nah, sometimes you just feel like Macca's.
Something to think about, something to laugh about. We're talking news.
This is a really good story, and I wanted to share this with you and our listeners. You remember Michelle Payne? There was a movie made about her called Rides Like a Girl. And if you watch the movie, God, it's worth watching, you'll see with her strapping and walking the horses around her brother who has Down syndrome. And he is an absolute legend. Well, Michelle Payne and her brother have a family farm. They're owners. They're co-owners in this farm. She has said that she is going to sell the farm in conjunction with her brother Stevie so that they can move, pick up from rural Victoria, move closer to Melbourne so he can be with the new love of his life.
Oh.
Stevie has found love with a girl that he met and discovered on a dance floor.
Oh, that's so cute.
I know. And apparently he has said she has made him happier than anything else. And so they have this 16.2 hectare miners' rest property. It's known as Nottingham Farm. She said, I'm prepared to sell, give Stevie his share so that he can be
go live
closer
his life.
to live with the love of his life.
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't she special too?
Yeah, but that's what families, that's what you would hope your family would do for one another.
That's what Michelle Payne, that's what she's like.
Yeah.
It's called Rides Like a Girl. Please see the movie. Now, we've all heard about politicians and the travel rorts. Have a listen to this. You know the sports minister, Annika Wells, who has been under the pump. We've got a little bit more on all of this. We know that she has spent hundreds of taxpayers' dollars using chauffeur-driven cars for rides, trips to the football, trips to the snow, trips to South Australia, to a birthday party, all travel claimed on the taxpayer. Well, guess what? We now find out that she's also using Canberra Comcars for rides around Canberra. So instead of catching a taxi or an Uber, which she could legitimately, if it's for government work, could claim the Uber or taxi fare on, she's using Comcars. I mean, there was one trip where she could have paid $49 for a taxi or an Uber. She charged the Australian taxpayers $329 for a 2-kilometre trip. Why would you do that?
But this is something that they all do, though.
Well, it needs to be fixed.
Absolutely it should be fixed. But premiers and cabinet ministers, particularly when they are in Canberra, they are provided a chauffeur for official purposes.
Plenty of them have been caught before, and just because it's available and doesn't breach the system doesn't mean it's right. There's a thing that we now call the pub test, and it doesn't pass it, Kelsey.
Of course not, it doesn't pass it.
And
But
just
why?
because everyone does it doesn't mean you should do it. Your conscience should say, do I spend $330 on a Comcar or do I get a taxi or an Uber?
Of course. Oh, I agree with you hands down. My question is, why is Annika Wells the only politician that makes headlines because of this when she is absolutely
She's one of the
not
worst
the only
offenders.
one?
No, but she's probably...
But do we know that for sure, though? Have we looked
so far,
through?
Oh, they are. Don't you worry. Every inch of the media. But anyway, just because everyone else does it doesn't mean it's right. I'll tell you a story. This is not taxpayer money, but there was a friend of mine, a producer, who used to work back in the day at 2SM, back in the 70s. And she was a regular contributor on 2SM. Anyway, she went into work one day and they said, you're no longer needed. She used to work for the Mirror. But she had a cab charge to get to 2SM and a cab charge to get home. And she lived in the eastern suburbs. So she took the cab charge and she went shopping.
Yeah.
She went out to Roselands, which is way out west. She went and visited a friend and the cab kept waiting. And she used a 2SM cab charge
Yeah.
because she was filthy on them for punting her, and she used the cab charge all day. And this is before the cards, it's all electric now. It's a docket you had to sign.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So she just hung onto the docket. The cab driver knew she had it, and she went shopping.
Yeah.
She went to David Jones.
Yeah.
She went to Roselands. She went all over Sydney, visited a friend, had lunch with somebody, went to a restaurant, then finally went home and signed off on the docket.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. If you had a chauffeur part of your pay package, you of course would use it. Of course you would.
And flights for your whole family to go to the snow. It's meant to be used for government business, and it's been taken advantage of. And I think it's appalling. It's appalling when you've got so many people struggling to make ends meet. Anyway, it needs to be fixed. And I don't think they're picking on. I just think she made herself a very easy target like Bronwyn Bishop did all those years ago with the helicopter.
Yeah.
Do you remember years ago when Julia Gillard said there'd be no carbon tax under a government I lead, and then she flipped and there was. And there was a big protest on the lawns of the old Parliament House in Canberra, and Tony Abbott got up on stage and was
Doing his thing. Eating an onion. Was he the one that ate the onion?
He was.
Yeah.
He also gave Prince Philip a knighthood.
Oh.
Didn't you hear about that? Google that.
Yeah. Okay.
Tony Abbott knights Prince Philip. Anyway, he's now president of the Liberal Party.
Oh, there you go.
But anyway, the former member for Warringah.
You got more fun facts in you?
He was our member.
Yeah, I know. I'm very aware of Tony Abbott. Yeah.
Okay. The budgie smuggler.
Yes, everyone knows. Yeah.
Anyway, they used to. You know what his nickname used to be?
What?
The Mad Monk, because he was training to be a Catholic priest.
Oh my God.
Didn't you know that?
Oh.
See,
I'm not surprised.
Good on him.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So when he was up on stage, there was a sign behind him saying "Ditch the Witch." Mm-hmm. He claims he didn't know the sign was there, and he denounced it, and he said it was bad.
Yeah.
Well, the "Ditch the Witch" is back. What's happened?
It's back. So it's actually an unnamed source at the moment. The opposition has come out and said they are not behind this campaign, but billboards have popped up around Victoria, and they are using this phrase again against
Jacinta Allen.
Jacinta Allen, yes.
Yeah.
And of course now lots of politicians, Anthony Albanese, Julia Gillard, they've come out and, condemning these signs. It looks like they've AI generated her face to look like a witch as well. And so people are saying that this is sexist, it's rooted in misogyny, and there's no place for this type of criticism in the Australian democracy. What do you think, Luke?
I think it's wrong. I think it's too far. Jacinta Allen is on a hiding for nothing. In fact, I don't think, what's the date today? The 8th of June. I don't think she'll be leader in Victoria for too much longer. There are a number of other people who are looking at her popularity polls and saying, no, she's got to go before the next election. But no, I think it's gone too far. I think you're not playing the ball, you're playing the player.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
And I don't like it on either side of the political fence. But HR Puff and stuff could have used that. A big sign, ditch the witchy poo.
Yeah.
We discussed that in the Man Cave last podcast. Your mum was watching that. She watched the whole last podcast. She thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, God.
For those who missed it, it was a great yarn. And there's, just quickly, you got to see this footage, folks. It's the story of a teenager. And how do I describe this? He's at a party. It's a massive party at someone's place. And they're all up on the roof, coming out of a bedroom, getting on the roof and jumping into the swimming pool, as kids do. Anyway, one of these kids had his ear torn off because he's jumped off the roof into the swimming pool. He's flipped.
Oh.
And his ears hit the side of the pool. His ears come off.
Should we watch it?
Almost Mike Tyson-esque. Anyway, have a look at this, folks. Have a look at this. Go again. Go again.
I don't want to.
Here it comes. Here it comes. Way bang!
I don't like this. I really don't like this. This makes me feel ill.
Okay. So there's a lawsuit now happening. Blake Barnes, 18, attended an event on the 18th of April after one of his classmates, Zane Spencer, invited students from their high school to a party. And while he was there, Blake Barnes climbs onto the roof of the home, which is owned by Brandon and Megan Spencer, and he did a flip into the swimming pool. When he landed in the water, the teen struck his head on the pool deck, causing his ear to tear off.
No.
Guess what?
What?
He and his family are now suing the owners of the house.
Oh.
What?
How
They're
is it?
suing the owners of the house.
What's the basis for that?
Maybe the pool wasn't wide enough. Maybe
But
they
he's jumping off the roof.
But for letting it happen, maybe there was alcohol there that exacerbated his silly behaviour. I don't know.
How old was he again?
18?
Oh, well, if he's 18, he's allowed to drink.
Well, I don't know.
I don't think you can sue the owners of the house. Surely not.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
I guess it's not really criminal defense in that.
So it'd be a civil case.
Yeah, but like
Liability.
if I was the parent of this boy, I would be like, bro, that was a really dumb thing to do. Now you're going to have to pay the price of it. You know, I'd be going up to the owners of the house and being like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Should we replace the bloody pool water? You know?
Do you want to hear a story?
I mean, you're going to tell me anyway.
You know your granny and poppy,
Yeah.
right? So they have a swimming pool up against the house, right?
Mm.
Your mum, your uncles, Shane, Brandon, your mum's cousin Guy, and Todd, they used to climb up onto the roof
Oh, which is it's tall.
of your poppy. It's a big, tall roof.
It's not really a super deep pool either.
And they used to jump off the roof into your poppy's pool.
Well, I was at a party like this when I was around 18 or 19 at my girlfriend's house, and it ended up being one of those nights where like randos came. Everyone ended up coming. They had a pool in the backyard, and luckily only a one-story house. And at one point, we all decided, hey, it'd be fun to jump off the roof into the pool. Her parents weren't home. They didn't even know that this party was going on. And one of my friends, she jumped off the roof. I can't remember if she hit the side of the pool. I don't know how it happened. But she ended up breaking her coccyx. You know that the butt bone, the butt bone.
Yeah.
And so she was walking around with like a pillow for like months, but not once. The thought of, you know, suing, you know, my girlfriends or that it was their fault, not once did that ever cross our mind, you know, because it's kind of your fault.
There's footage from many, many, many years ago. I don't even know if it's still up on the interweb. But it was someone who jumped off. It was either a balcony, I think it might have been a balcony of a motel into a swimming pool, and he's overjumped and his foot has hit the other side and his leg snapped.
No.
And you can see it's really graphic. His ankle, bang.
No.
See if you can find that.
Look, you can find shocking footage of people jumping into some type of body of water. But look, I'm just reading here. It says Barnes is suing the couple for negligence, premises liability, and negligent supervision / negligent conduct of social gathering, the complaint stated. I don't know, maybe we need to hear this boy's side of the story. Maybe there's more going on here than meets the eye than this story is telling us. It looks like his blood alcohol content was 0.114. What's that? Is that
Okay.
so the legal
05
limit
is 50 cents.
Yeah.
He's $1.
50. Okay, so he's
Is that
loose. He's loose. He's not making the best decisions.
wise decisions?
He's not making very wise.
Always drink responsibly.
Yeah. There's another word that you always do that to. You go, meh. I can't remember what the word is. I need to put it on your bingo card.
How come you always say Albanese and not Albanese?
I don't know.
Well, you do that. It's Albanese,
It's spelt like Albanese.
but it's pronounced Albanese.
yeah. I don't know.
And you do it all the time. Bingo. Literally. We've got a comment on Spotify about the Dan Murphy's card. What's this?
So this was on the back of your conversation with
Likewise.
Tory Hunt. Yeah. They said, I always ask about the Dan Murphy's card. Even when the beer is not on special, they still want to scan my card. I've never heard of any benefits or winnings. Why? Sometimes I like to pay cash and don't give my card. It seems to get them.
Well, you don't have to give your card.
No, you don't
But you
have
do
to.
get discounts. And it builds up. And I don't know how. I guess it's like.
I think with Dan Murphy's, it's if you have the members card, then there are special sales that are on for members.
Yeah, possibly. I got a Dan Murphy's card, but the this is not good. The little what do you call it? The code
Rewards card.
No, the the barcode.
Yeah.
The barcode's worn off. So if I want to get a special, I've got to give them my phone number, which is connected to the card. But it's not good when your Dan Murphy's rewards card barcode has been worn away. That's not a good thing.
No. I just looked this up. It says a Dan Murphy's membership is a free loyalty program that gives members instant access to thousands of exclusive weekly product discounts, tailored recommendations, and priority entry to rare releases. So it doesn't seem like there's an accumulation of points type thing like the reward cards do.
Next time I'm up there, which will be in about 20 minutes, I'm getting something for your mum.
Sure you are.
I am. I'll ask them how the card works. I wonder if you use it often enough, can you get a fry pan worth $35? Now, there's a voice message from Brett. I haven't heard this yet. Ready, please, Mr. Music.
Hey guys, it's Brett from Brisbane. Hey, just in regards to Australia's plummeting birth rate, mate, we all know that it is because children are expensive and very, very expensive at that. My wife and I, we already have kids. However, we really crave one more and one last child for us. But we've estimated that between how much it costs just for us to live and then adding childcare on top of that, which, you know, we are classified as high income earners. So childcare per week for us for one single child is around $700. It's more than a mortgage repayment these days. Then you still need to add the cost to feed our children, the cost to clothe our children. We really crave one more child to finish our family off, but we can't afford it, and it sucks. It really does suck. Luke, you were mentioning Peter Costello's baby bonus. Even $5,000 would not put us in a position where we would be able to have another baby. My wife and I estimate that it would cost us around $100,000.
Wow.
Between having my wife on maternity leave, hopefully for a year, but realistically, if we were, it would be 6 months, to then the cost of daycare over the next 2-3 years. Even the estimate of $100,000 probably isn't enough. And again, it sucks. If we're bringing people into the country to fill the hole of Australians not being able to afford to reproduce, we're not pricing ourselves out of being Australian. We're pricing ourselves out of a future. And again, I keep saying it, it bloody sucks. My wife and I are so fortunate. We've already got some children, but it doesn't mean that we wanted just to stop just because we've got some. It means that we have to stop even though we're not ready. I mean, I'm 35 now, and I can't see why at this age and the wage that both me and my wife earn, that it's still for us impossible to have another child.
Yep, I hear, and that was my thoughts exactly. It is a very, very expensive thing to have a child. Who can afford to have a child with just one income? Both parents these days have got to work, and if basically the whole wage for one of those parents goes on childcare.
They're approaching nearly $700 a week in childcare costs.
Yep.
A week. That's rent.
So should childcare be subsidised?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Okay, but it should be means tested?
What does that mean? Oh, sorry, like depending on how much income you have. I would think so. Surely there has to be more in place for people that earn less. But I guess if the goal is for us to replace the birth rate, then it has to be accessible for everyone.
Give them an incentive. Give Australians an incentive and make sure that the trouble is, Kels, and we can talk about this in more detail down the track, when you do subsidise something and the government gets involved, rorts happen.
Yeah, of course.
And often what happens is the price of that childcare still goes high, so you'd have to cap it.
Yeah.
So you'd have to, so you would you have government-run childcare centres? Because if you have them run by private enterprise,
Yeah, private entities are not good.
you can't cap private enterprise. You can't.
No. They're there to make a profit.
So that would have to be like public schools,
Yeah.
a childcare centre run attached
Yes,
possibly
yeah.
to an infant school.
There you go.
So that the little one can go close to the older sibling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
And it's run by the government.
Yeah.
And it's regulated. It's strict. They make sure they're staffed properly.
Yeah.
The staff are trained properly.
Yeah.
And free to people who can afford it. I don't know how you'd means test it, but run like a public school
Yes.
and encourage Australians.
Absolutely. I don't know why we're not doing this already, you know?
We fixed it.
I know. If we're so concerned about the replacement birth rate, then just imagine how much stress that would take off a family's plate having an extra $2,600 in your pocket a month,
I've
you
just
know?
thought of something else.
What?
So while they're building all these new houses and building infrastructure and communities, have childcare centres right next to schools.
Yeah.
And retirement homes, because nothing improves the mental health of an elderly person being surrounded by little ones.
Just imagine that. That would be it would solve so many problems if we just thought about humans.
Government-run schools, retirement homes run properly, and childcare centres all attached.
In the same little village.
Yeah.
And then
Is that a good idea?
Yeah, because then it's also like, you know, the kids are entertained, you know, maybe once a week they go down to the retirement village and they do crafts with the
Crafts
oldies.
with the oldies.
You know?
And the
it's a
oldies
great idea.
And the oldies can teach them how to knit.
Yeah.
And they'll poke their eyes out with the needles. So they'll prick themselves with the fingers with the net. But arts and crafts.
There's so many things
singing.
that you can do. Yeah. There's so many things. But this would mean, I honestly don't really know anything about, you know, the private daycare centre industry and whether or not they've got lobbyists making sure this doesn't happen, because what I do know is that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, private childcare in this country. So something needs to change. Like, we can't have that go on forever. Otherwise, it's just like so contradictory.
Well, that baby bonus that was introduced by Peter Costello, one for mum, one for dad and one for the country, it didn't work, and people weren't spending it on what they should have. Maybe it should have been issued to you on a special card where you could only use it directly for things associated with childcare.
Just don't give people money. Give people resources. You know, that's what I don't understand. Give people resources.
Look at this, folks. She's got it solved. But anyway, there's some ideas. Let's put them out there. We've got a message from Steve. Something about fosters.
So Steve said, and I'm pretty sure that this comes off the back of seeing our beer taste test, which we did do over the long weekend. I'll put the full video of that up on Spotify. Up on YouTube, and I'll probably put it on Spotify too, although it is probably better to watch it. Let me just say, people, everyone heard it on this podcast first. Luke going, I will definitely be able to taste a Cooper's. I'll definitely be able to taste a Cooper's. Absolutely, blah. He got it so
Well, you
so
introduced
wrong.
a beer I'd never heard of. What was that one?
Hips Normal. It's
Never
a
heard
zero
of it.
alcohol beer.
Never heard of it.
He thought the zero
It looked
alcohol.
cloudy, you see, and I thought it was the
He thought the zero alcohol beer was Cooper's. Absolute blasphemy.
Okay, I stuffed up. I never said I was a good taster.
That's true, but you did say you'd be able to get the Coopers.
You forgot the whole point of the exercise, Kelsey.
Nah.
The whole point was, why should the 4 biggest stadiums in Sydney now go back to full-strength beer when you can hardly taste the difference between full-strength, mid-strength and low-strength? And I proved my point because I got it wrong.
You couldn't taste any of them.
That's my point. So why go to full-strength and bring back the drama associated with alcohol?
Yeah.
Imagine you go to the SCG, cricket, you get there at 10.
Yeah.
And you're there till stump 6.
Yeah.
And you're on the full-strength beers in the sun all day.
Oh, yeah. Recipe for disaster.
Recipe for disaster, Kelsey. But Foster's, it was the brand of beer that was almost the brand of Australia. And no one in Australia drinks Foster's anymore. But that was what Crown Lager is. Crown Lager back in the day, it was the top third of the wort, spelt W-O-R-T,
Yeah.
of the Foster's, and the top third was a little bit clearer. Exactly the same beer, and that was Crown Lager.
Right. Well, Steve says in the UK, one of the most popular crap beers is Foster's, as it is advertised as Australia's #1 beer, which obviously is not now. He also says one other thing, the amount of items for sale in the UK advertised as British companies are actually made in China. And this is a thing.
I said that. Oh,
I know.
No, I said Japan.
Yeah. Well, this is
Asahi and Kirin.
Yeah. Well, did you know that the made in label actually originated in England in 1887? And that was to stop foreign companies from selling cheap knockoffs. But now what happens is China will make all of the parts of the things. And then this is really apparent with like Gucci, right? So China essentially makes all the parts, ship it off to Italy, and then
They put it together there.
No, in Italy they put the bloody stamp on it.
Yeah.
And then like the
then
Gucci
reship it.
logo, and then they just put the label on it saying made in Italy. But all the parts are manufactured in China. And this is true for like almost all big companies.
Well, we do that in Australia with orange juice.
Yeah.
It says made in Australia. But what happens is the concentrate comes from Brazil.
Oh.
And
then, yeah.
we put the water in it.
Yeah. Big whoop.
I'm serious.
Surely we've got lots of orange orchids here in Australia.
Orchards. Orchids are little flowers that come out.
Orchards, whatever, you know what I mean.
The Albanese orchard. Literally. But the Japanese beers, these beers are owned by Asahi and Kirin, but they're still made in Australia.
Yeah.
But the company owns it.
them. Yeah. Like Four Pines, Asahi owns them, but they do make it all in Australia. So, yeah, that's kind of the way of the world right now. Sucks. Got this message from Brad. He says, "Hey, Luke, I'd be keen to hear your thoughts as well as James Glissen's from a legal perspective on self-defense laws.
Yep.
This is in light of the news that Keith Blessing may be charged for shooting an armed intruder who stabbed both him and his wife while they were sleeping. After being bravely chased off by Keith, the intruder attempted to re-enter the home, leading to the shooting. If I woke up to my wife being stabbed by an intruder in the middle of the night, I'd do worse than just shoot the bloke in the stomach. Your home is your castle and you should be able to defend it and the loved ones within it."
Okay. We will get James Glisson on. You tell me, you want him on next podcast?
I don't know. Give him a break, okay? Give him a break. We can't use up all our James Glisson tokens in one go.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what he's going to say. You can use defense so long as it's proportionate, and that's the word, to the attack.
Yeah.
So if someone attacks you,
Someone's stabbing your wife, surely you can shoot them.
possibly not. Possibly you could retaliate with a knife. It has to be proportionate. You have to prove to the court that your retaliation was proportionate to the attack. Now, here's my point, Kelsey. If somebody breaks into your home 2:00 in the morning and you're asleep with your wife and your kids are asleep in their rooms and you've got an intruder in your house and through self-preservation, you pick up a cricket bat or a baseball bat or a weapon.
Yeah.
It's 2 a.m. Your family is asleep. There is an intruder in your house. Your adrenaline is through the roof. It's very hard to judge what is appropriate and proportionate
In the moment.
in the moment. One thing is for sure and certain, if somebody tries to flee, if they stop and try and run, you do not run after them and chase them.
Yeah.
You cannot, that will not help you at all. But it is a very, very good point. At what point, and incidentally, why did that bloke have a gun?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Maybe it's a registered weapon.
Could be.
They're supposed to be registered. They're supposed to be locked away. You can't keep ammunition with your weapons. Anyway, there was a big outcry to protect these people who were defending their home, but maybe there's more to it than meets the eye. But that's, I think, what James Glisson's going to say.
Yeah. Well, just remember, shooting somebody is not something that someone does lightly. You know, this is an old couple, right? Like they're not spring chickens by any means. I would think that I would be pretty traumatized from the injuries, but also from knowing that you've shot somebody, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's not like people are taking this lightly in terms of, oh yeah, let's just go around and shoot anyone that enters our homes. You know, this would be traumatic for everyone on every level.
James Glisson, he's got his own podcast. I'm sure he would have a podcast, James Glisson. I bet you he's got one on
I'm sure he probably
on
does,
this
yeah.
topic. He would for sure.
Yeah. All right, we got a voicemail from Jono.
If it's audio, Kelsey, stop. Is it audio or do I read it?
No audio.
Well, then it's a voice message, not a voicemail.
Whatever.
Keep going. Literally. Just ask Anthony Albanese.
Hey, Luke. Hey, Kelsey. It's Jono again. Hey, guys, something I've been noticing for a little while now, men talking. We need to talk more, communicate, and just have a random conversation with anyone, because we tend to hide ourselves in our own emotions and not let anyone else in, and that's not really a healthy thing to do. A stranger or just a general person that you know that you can trust, have a good conversation with. It goes on by what you guys are talking about today with psychologists and all those sort of things. And I wonder what your thought is on that.
I couldn't agree more. Men do bottle things up because it's been seen for thousands of years that it's a sign of weakness if you show emotion. So you bottle it up, you put it away, and you've just got to talk to any of the men that used to ring me on network overnight radio. Very, very hard to talk. And that's why we've seen develop those men's sheds where men can get together and talk and share. There is a national men's helpline, 1300 789978, and it's free and it's there 24/7. But I couldn't agree more. Men have got to learn to talk, but we've also got to learn to listen.
Yeah. And also, who do you talk to when you've got stuff on your mind, Luke? Besides mum.
Yeah, mum's a bit of a suck it up.
Oh, yeah. She's not very empathetic.
She's not. She's sort of eat some cement.
Get on with it.
And get on with it. I don't know if your mum should ever work for Lifeline.
No.
To be honest.
People always said that mum should have had boys.
Oh, 100%. Your mum, if your mum had come into contact with my boy at an earlier age, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, your mum definitely would have been a great mum for boys.
But who do you talk to when you got stuff on your mind? Big John? Jacob?
No, really.
Well, who do you talk to?
Myself.
Well, that's not good.
But I'm okay.
No, you're not. That's what that's what every bloke says. Maybe you need to make it a priority.
Reverend Jim, I used to talk to Reverend Jim a lot.
Yeah, well, maybe you need to make it a priority to,
Why don't we get him on?
Yeah, we should.
You want to get the Reverend Jim on?
Yeah.
Haven't had him on for a while.
Yeah.
Interesting character.
Yeah, let's get the Reverend Jim on.
Let's get the Reverend Jim on. Coming up on episode 114 Bonafide Podcast, my very good mate, Mark Beretta, as we pay tribute to the late former Australian of the Year, Professor Richard Scolyer.
I was sad to see you crashing the engine blows. I'll be safe, please melt around my 42 wheels. If you came too close, they always kills. Just a dirty truckie putting food on my table. Got a fat kid who is lazy.
Well, former Australian of the Year, Professor Richard Scolyer, sadly, folks, has died at the age of 59. His legacy? Fast-tracking revolutionary cancer treatment. He volunteered to be what they called patient zero. It was a radical approach to treating his tumour. He fought the aggressive brain cancer for almost 3 years. He defied unbelievable survival odds. Scolyer's brain cancer showed signs of reoccurrence March last year, and that was much to the shock of his friends and family and indeed us, the public. We were right behind him. He is a hero, but he has now passed away. And he said, at least I had a crack. He had more than a crack. And the foundations and the research that he has now put in place, hopefully, will not only save lives, but if it doesn't ultimately save lives, will prolong the life of many other sufferers. Someone who knew him well and someone who was a great supporter of his because of his support of Tour de Cure is my mate Mark Beretta, and he's on the phone now. Beretta, it's a sad day today. Hello, brother.
Hey, Luke. Yeah, mate, we've lost one of the greatest men I've ever known, I must say. Richard Scolyer was just a one in a million, and you talk about what he's done and his legacy. He will go on and his work will save millions of lives from melanoma, but also from brain cancer. He has just opened up a whole new avenue that had never been discovered in the treatment of brain cancer by taking what he knew and what he and Georgina Long had found in melanoma and applying it to brain cancer. He made himself a human test pilot, a human guinea pig. And, you couldn't meet a more selfless, wonderful, beautiful man than Richard Scolyer. And I am devastated that he is gone, because he was such a wonderful person who you just want to live forever so that he can keep changing the world, because that's what he does.
Yeah, I noticed Sunrise today played a clip of you interviewing him on a bike, and it was only months before he passed away. This is the Tour de Cure, and apparently he overtook you going up a hill on a bike. Tell us the story.
We had an amazing time together. So we first came across Richard Scolyer about 10 years ago when he was doing research with the Melanoma Foundation. We started funding his research. So we became pretty close. And then 2023, he turned up as a rider on one of our tours. And Richard's thing was he didn't want to just be taking the money without doing something to help raise it. So he wanted to come out on the rides with us and help everyone else raise money. And from then on, we became, great mates. I mean, March this year, we did our ride from Canberra to Hobart, and Richard was determined to come on it. And we'd obviously known for a long time his condition and how serious it was. It was as though when he got on the bike, none of that mattered. He still rode amazingly. And it was like that was the part of his brain that was not affected. His memory for being on the bike and his memory for how to ride was incredible. So much so, Luke, that climbing up one of the nastiest hills in Tassie, I am puffing and panting, and I look over and a bloke's come flying past me, and I look back and it's Richard Scolyer. And I'm like, how is he doing this? But he was just that sort of guy. And what I loved and what I'll treasure about the memory of Richard Scolyer was he spoke to everyone in such a caring and beautiful way. He gave everyone all the time he had. And it would happen all the time. We'd be out on a ride and we'd stop for a break somewhere, and someone would come up to him. They'd recognised him. And many times it was someone who had been cured of melanoma. And I remember one classic one just outside Devonport. Husband and wife came up, and the man had recovered from melanoma as a result of Richard's work. And they were all in tears. It was just a beautiful moment. And that was Richard, he understood. And that's what made him such a wonderful Australian of the Year and such a deserving one, was that he gave so much time to people. He cared about people. And as he said in his final statement, of course, Richard wrote his own goodbye to the Australian people, which is so him, that I just want to be remembered as a good Aussie bloke who gave it a crack. Boy, did he give it a crack.
Did he give it a crack? And I was looking at that interview of you during the Tour de Cure, talking to Professor Richard, and we all knew that he'd been diagnosed, and we'd all hoped and prayed that he was going to come out of this. He looked fine, or did he? I don't know. But how does he overtake you on a bike?
I have no idea. But
I'm serious.
Boy, I was seriously impressed. I will never forget that. It was a beautiful moment. If I was going to be overtaken by anyone, I'll take Richard Scolyer any day. No, look, his body became frail. His speech, he had difficulties with his speech and his train of thought. That was the cancer eating away at his brain and affecting his brain. But there were some things that he was spot on with. And I was lucky enough, since that ride in March, we've probably, had 2 or 3 dinners, and I've spoken with him or interviewed him for big panels and big rooms. And he was just a remarkable man, and this probably came a little bit sooner than we expected, which is a real shock. But his partner, Katie, and their 3 kids, and his brother, Mark, and they're just remarkable. They have been by his side for these 3 years, and, he was not supposed to last more than 12 months, and he lasted 3 years by applying this revolutionary treatment to his own brain cancer.
Yeah.
Just an extraordinary story in every facet. And I think, the Prime Minister was right today when he said we've lost a remarkable Australian, and he was something special and so humble, Luke. He was a Tassie boy through and through. And we used to laugh about it a lot. But this year on the ride, we went past his old family home. He showed me his old swimming pool where he used to swim as a kid.
No.
We even went to the Bridge North Parrots football club just outside Launceston, where they gave him a special presentation there. And the whole town and the mayor and everyone turned out there to greet him. But he, I think he knew, and his family knew on this ride that we did in March through Tassie, that would be his farewell to Tasmania and the last time that he'd see his old homeland. So it was super emotional, physically challenging, but he was right up for it. He was just, as I say, just a beautiful, incredibly intelligent, humble, perfect man.
And, sadly, another tragic loss, but another inspiration, Neil Danaher and MND. How do these, I'll talk about these two men. How do you concentrate on the bigger picture, and that is making life better for those left afterwards and not just feeling sorry for yourself and going into a dark room and just curling up?
Yeah, I think the answer is simple, that these are really extraordinary people who all their lives have cared more about other people than themselves. That's the only way you can explain it. Neil Danaher was incredible, and to think that these two men are at the forefront of our thinking today is quite remarkable. And I hope people pause on that and take something away from the fact that, what makes these two blokes really special is the fact that they just thought about other people a lot more than they thought about themselves, and that's the mark of so many great Australians and great people. And they both have left an incredible legacy, and it's just sad to have lost both of them, because they were both changing the world in massive ways and very similar, just super similar guys in their whole approach to life. Neil Danaher was a country bloke. He was incredibly down to earth, just a really good knockabout bloke. Richard, a kid from Tassie who really made good in a big way. And both of them will end up changing treatment for MND and cancer respectively. And they, between them, they will save millions of lives. They'll make lives better for many people around this country.
Barrett's, always good to hear your voice. Sorry it's under such sad circumstances today, but let's talk again next time about happier things, shall we?
We will do, Luke. And I think today we celebrate the lives of those two great men, Neil Danaher and Richard Scolyer, and what they did, and what their work will continue to do, because we're blessed to have had people like that in our lives in this lifetime, I reckon.
And you look at the sea of blue beanies at the MCG Big Freeze Day, and it kind of reminds me, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it reminds me of Pink Ribbon Day and the McGrath Foundation, how Absolutely. Australians can embrace this.
We are remarkable like that. And look, I see it firsthand on Tour de Cure. I saw it this year. We'll ride through country regions that have been hit by drought or bushfire or anything, and they are the most generous people. They will hand you quietly, slip you $50 cash to put in the collection tin and say no more about it. You couldn't be prouder. Australian people at their heart and soul are a remarkable bunch. And, these days remind us, and people like this are the shining lights that we aspire to. These are the people that we all of us want to be like. And if we work towards that, we'll have a great country and great people continue on.
Well said, Mark Beretta. Thank you so much for your time. Catch up soon, mate.
Always a pleasure, Luke. See you soon.
My day, got the bluesy rhythm, but it's swinging my way. Oh, I got the Luke on a blues.
Former leader of the Nationals, David Littleproud, he joins me again. Now, David, where you are, you don't get a public holiday on the King's long weekend. I thought it was a day off for everyone. What's happened?
Well, we hold ours off for what is probably the most important day outside State of Origin, grand final, Monday after the big night, so that we can have a blowout on the Sunday night, and we have ours in October.
So Mad Monday.
Mad Monday, Queenslanders, yeah.
Exactly.
Look out, all Queensland does Mad Monday. So that's how we do it. We actually have changed it around. It's been changed for a while. Most people don't mind that because the grand final's on a Sunday night, so it allows people to have the next day off. We've done that for a couple of years now, which is good.
Okay. Now, listen.
We're thinkers in Queensland.
You get too much sun. You're all troppo. You're all troppo. Anyway, you've got a little bit of work to do for State of Origin too, but we can talk about that next week. Hey,
well, it depends whether Ashley Klein's refereeing or not.
Oh, I see. The extra New South Wales player. Was it a send-off offence?
10 minutes. He should have got 10. That's all he should have got. I mean, the fact that he didn't get suspended, if he didn't get suspended, it shows that Ashley Klein made a balls up, and that's the only way New South Wales won. I mean, that's the only way New South Wales can be competitive, make it 14-12. Okay, folks, please leave your comments. Leave your comments, but we will have this discussion after State of Origin 2. Now, there's a news poll out today, and it shows Pauline Hanson's One Nation is beating Anthony Albanese's Labor Party. This is based on primary votes for the first time in news poll history. Now,
we had the other poll a couple of weeks ago, which you reflected on. Has anything changed? This obviously doesn't surprise you.
No, well, it reinforces it. In fact, one of the numbers in that poll says that about 70% of the population just want to blow the show up. They're that frustrated, they're that angry, they're that broke. They just don't think that the system's working. That's the anger, that's the disappointment and the hurt that's out there at the moment. And you can feel it wherever you go. People are doing it tough. And when you had a budget where I think many people were looking at it and going, well, we're in a crisis, a cost of living crisis, surely the government will do something in the budget. Instead, they just taxed everyone more. And this isn't what people were looking for. And I think that's the white hot anger. And, we're not even in government, but we're copying the heat on it as well.
Okay.
But what you've got to be able to do is this is the opportunity to show your policies, to be able to show that you can, because government is serious. It's not, I get the anger, but you've got to be able to cut the checks in the right way, because sometimes if you don't, it has serious unintended consequences and you actually end up worse. It might sound popular, but when you actually go to implement it, it's not as easy as what everyone thinks. And that's the danger that I think people need to understand, but they're just hurting.
Well, the government's saying Pauline Hanson, exactly that, but that the promises she's making haven't been costed. She lacks policy and that she's out of touch. Now, I don't know if Pauline Hanson could be accused of being out of touch, but I think one quote this morning was all she does is make these huge promises without actually financially being able to back them up, and she flies around in Gina Rinehart's private plane.
Yeah, look, I probably agree with about 85, 90% of what Pauline Hanson says in many cases. There's a bit I don't, but the reality is she's got many of the policies that we actually have had. But the reality is we actually have to get it costed. She's never had to have it costed. And this is the thing, you got to look at the totality of a budget. You just can't say, well, this part of it costs X. But if you do that, Y misses out. And that's the thing, is you've got to be able to have an alternative budget, not just cost these things, but show how it works, not just in isolation, but in terms of the entire budget. Because when you spend on one side, something else misses on the other. And that's where you've got to be upfront and clear and be able to demonstrate a budget. She's never had the capacity to do that before. I don't begrudge Pauline Hanson flying around. Someone wants to give, if a billionaire wants to give her money for a plane, well, good luck to him. But I don't want to be owned by a billionaire. I think Pauline's probably more in touch with reality than what billionaires are in how Australia's operating. So, if she wants to take money from a billionaire, the only issue I have with billionaires and the experience I've had is they always want something for it and they want to control it because they're successful people and they want to control it all the way. So just be very mindful once you start seeing we go down a slippery slope in Australian politics where, and we've rejected one billionaire before, but he at least put his own name to it. The reality is they want something and they want something. Exactly. They want something and they want to control it. They don't become successful by letting someone else do the work for them and do what they or try to convince them. They actually want the policies and want the things they want. That's how they become a billionaire. That's the danger you have in a political system when billionaires start owning individuals and parties.
Well, very rarely does a political contributor of that magnitude offer these things without wanting something in return. And that's the problem I have.
Oh, you're spot on. And they do. It would be naive to think that you do not hand over millions of dollars of money and not expect to have influence over the policy direction of the country. Now, that's well and good if you got billions of dollars and it doesn't really worry you. But when the majority of us don't have that, that's a dangerous situation for our democracy to get down into. And I've actually dealt with some of these billionaires before. And I can tell you, they all want something. They all want their way. It is their way or the highway. That is how they've made billions. They are strong people. They are smart people, but they are not always connected to the reality that the rest of us live in. And that's the dangerous thing that we can fall into a trap with in a political system like Australia.
I was going to say their way or no runway. I don't know. But anyway, look, just one last thing.
Literally, not just metaphorically.
Exactly. But is this now going to put more pressure on Pauline Hanson to leave the Senate and contest a seat in the House of Representatives?
It's up to her. The Constitution doesn't actually say that the Prime Minister must be in the House of Representatives. It is convention that the Prime Minister sits there.
No, John Gorton. John Gorton was voted leader of the Liberal Party when he was in the Senate, but then there was a by-election and 2 weeks later.
Exactly.
But constitutionally, you're 100%. But to have control of the House, you've got to be in it, haven't you?
Yeah, I think. Well,
she'll leave it up to Barnaby.
Well, I don't think that'd be a wise move. I think if Pauline wants to be Prime Minister, she thinks she can be it, she's going to have to run in the House of Representatives, and that means, and if she's serious about being Prime Minister, she's doing a lot of campaigning in coalition seats. I would have thought they're the ones with 94 seats. They're the ones that you got to get rid of. If you're serious about being Prime Minister, you got to run in a Labor seat. You got to take Labor out.
I would have thought so. Otherwise, you're cannibalising the Conservative vote. I would have thought 94 seats, you'd have to attack ALP seats. But, of course, they're the tricky ones. Can we move on? Because there's something really important I wanted to talk about today, and that is today we veil Professor Richard Scolyer. He's died at the age of 59 after fighting what's been described as the worst of brain cancers. This guy is an amazing, amazing man. And what an inspiration. Your thoughts, David?
Yeah, I mean, in life, not everyone gets to leave a legacy that changes the lives of other people. But Richard has. Let's be honest, he has been an amazing human being. He's used his intellect and knowledge for greater good, and for many families in Australia and around the world will ever be indebted for his research, his tenacity, his ability to be able to try and shape what is a terrible time in anyone's life around cancer, to change the lives and save lives. And he's done that. While facing up to his own immortality, shows the strength and character of a man, and the greatness of the man. And we're greater for having him, but we've had a huge loss with losing him. And I mean, I think there'll be families, and I hope it's not my family, but my family may one day be reliant on the research that he's done and the work that he did particularly around melanomas. I mean, I work with Mark Colton, former member for Parks, and much of the therapy that he's getting now for some stage 3 melanomas and stage 4 melanomas have come from that research. And that's, when you think back and you think, well, that's kept Mark alive and how lucky we are. But to lose at 50, in the late 50s, is 59, shows that life is precious. It's one of those things that can be taken straight away, and no matter how great you are, we all face mortality. Yeah,
because of course last week we came to terms with Neil Danaher, who's being remembered, and both Professor Richard Scolyer and Neil Danaher knew that their time was coming up. And motor neuron disease, a different animal, but such an evil animal, and both of these men knew that their time was coming up, and frustrated that they couldn't do more with the limited time they had left.
Yeah, but what they did do was amazing. I mean, to be honest, most of Australia would never have heard of MND either if it wasn't for Neil Danaher. I mean, my engagement with it only came when I became the federal member. I found a lady, Polly, who was one of the biggest characters of Charleville. She had MND, and she had trouble with NDIS, and her carer was from my hometown, Chinchilla. So I went and saw her, and we fixed it up for her, and I became one of the greatest honours I've ever been given in my parliamentary career is to read her eulogy out in Charleville in front of her own community, because I got to know Polly through this horrible MND, but I hadn't heard about it until then. But Neil Danaher has brought this to everyone's attention. And now we're seeing it more permanent. And it's one of the most insidious diseases you'll ever see, to see a loved one just degenerate. And Neil fought a lot longer. The Polly was gone, and she had one of the most horrible strains of it. She was gone within 18 months. We lost Pol out in Charleville. And when you see it just degenerate, these beautiful human beings who, again, Polly was the life of Charleville, worked in aged care, kept all the oldies happy because she had this personality. To see these great people that we lose because of these things shows that that there are great Australians that also face up to that, but then continue to fight on. I mean, it speaks volumes about them as human beings and the strength of their human character. And we're lucky to have them. And it's you just got to remember the good times and remember what they've done, but the legacy they'll leave is one that'll be important for every Australian.
And you know what? It makes you feel so humble when you think you complained about, comparatively trivial things. And these guys they knew that they were going. But what they did was they concentrated on trying to make things better for other people.
Yeah, in that moment, their moment, that they didn't focus on themselves. They focused on their fellow Australians, on their fellow human beings that would shape the lives of many Australians to come. That takes a certain sort of person to be outwardly focused in one of the most trying times of the most trying times of your life, facing up to your mortality, and to know that it's coming, and to have effectively a fixed date is one that not too many Australians get to face up to, but then have the strength of character and will to keep doing something speaks even more about who they are and what they've done.
It does indeed. Now, here is something I know that you'll have a lot to say about. And today there's a report from the Menzies Research Centre saying that Australian schools need to fix their curriculum. It needs to be overhauled. It needs to be stripped back to 3 days of core content with edubabble also removed. Edubabble. Our curriculum in our schools, are we teaching kids the right things in school? Do we? I've been saying this for a long time. Keen to know what you think. I think we should be teaching basic life skills in our schools, as well as reading, writing, and arithmetic. For example, should we teach kids how to do basic tax problems, how to budget? Should we be James Glisson from Glisson and Associates, a lawyer? He's a mate of mine. Should kids be taught their basic legal rights? Things like this. I don't know. I'm just pulling at strings here. Do we need to overhaul our school curriculum?
Yeah, we do. It's complicated and it's cluttered, and I think that it strips away the basic life skills that I was taught, and in my time it was a lot more a simpler curriculum of reading, writing, and arithmetic. You got those basics, but you got those life skills. I mean, in grade 8, I remember doing business economics, learning the basics about interest, the power of compound interest, about contract law, about how to operate a bank account, how to do those things. But
also a lot of young Australians getting themselves into unnecessary debt because it's sometimes relatively easy to get credit cards and get exorbitant credit with exorbitant interest rates. Do we need to teach people about how to negotiate that?
And that's what grade 8 business economics was all about.
Okay.
I remember Mrs. Hart at Chinchilla State High taught me.
I love her.
I don't have a degree. I left school and joined the National Bank and worked out in Charleville and St George and Cunnamulla and all those places, and worked my way through to be an agribusiness banker. I was a teller and learned the basics, but I got an interest from learning those basic life skills about interest, about loans, about debt, about simple contract law from grade 8 business economics. And that's the sort of stuff that I think every young one needs to understand. But they need to understand that the basics of reading, writing, arithmetic, we don't need. And what we've got to is a point where we're trying to instill and teach values. That's your parents' responsibility. What your values are shouldn't be taught by a teacher about whether you believe in one social issue or another. That's for your mum and dad to shape you and your life experience and life skills moving forward, not the school. The school's got a responsibility to educate you in the basics of being able to be able to hold down a job, and to have that you have to be able to add up and subtract and multiply and divide and be able to read and write. That is the responsibility of our education class, and to give you some of those life skills around understanding that when you leave the sanctuary and safety of schools, you're going to go out in the big bad world. And these are some of the things you're going to face into, which is, getting debt, understanding what it is, saving money for a deposit on a home. How do you do that? The risk reward. It's just simple maths. I mean, I wasn't academically gifted, obviously, but I mean, I used to do spud maths, but I used to love it. We used to learn the probability. Go look at all the casino games and look at the probability, and teacher would sit there.
Let's teach kids how to gamble. Is that what you're saying, David?
Well, not necessarily that. But just to be able to show the probability, the higher the risk, the higher the reward. But the lower the risk, the more certain the reward in terms of return. And those are the sort of things that you can actually work out, not through values, but see the numbers. And it's actually sitting in front of you. You can see, well, the higher the risk there is, the probability that you're going to lose everything. Whereas if you don't do that and you go and put it in the bank and you earn 4% compounded every year, this is what you're going to get. There's certainty. There's the probability of probably nothing, and you work through the spectrum. So you shape them with the actual raw data sitting in front of them, and that's the sort of stuff that piqued my interest in doing practical things. But you've got to have those practical skills to be able to operate in life. And I just think this is an opportunity for governments to get out of parents' lives about how their kids are being shaped. Let parents do that and just give them the skills that they're tasked with, which is reading, writing, arithmetic, and some of the life skills that they'll see in terms of being able to operate and function in society.
When my son lived with me, he left school year 10 and got a job as a tradie. But while he was here, I made him once a week do the shopping and then get a recipe and cook dinner once a week. I wanted him to read a recipe, go and buy the ingredients and cook it. It was one of my rules. And you want to know why? My parents did the same. And it was really handy.
Yeah, my mum used to make me do the ironing, so I knew how to iron. So those are the sort of things.
There's a bluff.
Yeah. So there's the sort of things but that's parents. Parents should do that. And I think as a society, we've abrogated much of our responsibility to the state via teachers, and we put a lot of pressure on them. And so we're adding to the complexity of the curriculum and cluttering it with things that's not really their job to actually educate on. And I think this is the opportunity for us to get back to shaping our young people with the skills. The value should come from mum and dad. The skills should come from the school. And that's where I think we've drifted into the values piece. And that's not a place for the state. That's not a place for the school to be able, or a teacher to have to do that. That's for you to shape that yourself and your experiences at home by mum and dad. I mean, the things mum and dad introduced me to gambling by going to the country races and explained it to me. I didn't have, these are the sort of things that they taught me about understanding it as well. And you could overlay that with what the probabilities were at school. So these are the sort of things that give you the life skills that we've got to have this differentiation between home and school. We get back to that, I think we'll have better equipped children to go into adult life with the life skills they need, and their values will be shaped at home.
Okay. Now, I have a local electorate issue for you to take up. Okay. Are you ready? Now, David Littleproud, you represent the electorate of Maranoa in Queensland.
That's right.
I don't know if many people know this, but Maranoa has existed since Federation.
That's right.
And is, in fact, folks, the largest electorate in Queensland. It spans an area 3 times the size of Victoria. Now, the reason I mention that is that you have a lot of roads. You have
a lot, yep.
Okay. Yeah. Now, our mate Rod Hannifey, our truckie expert from Truckie Tuesday,
yep.
And he was talking about an issue in your electorate, and he said, I want you to get onto your mate David Littleproud and ask him this question. And he's a dog with a bone, David. If I don't let him ask the question, he will hound me. So you ready?
Now, Mr. Littleproud has an office in Dalby.
Yeah.
And I came back from Mount Isa the other day, and through Dalby there's about 9 culverts that can lift the wheels off the ground in a fully loaded road train. I did speak to his office. I'd really like his support to get them fixed. It is his area. And I had a mate ring me yesterday. He'd like to see some toilets at Longreach and a few other things. And he was getting on to the local member in Toowoomba. So we're going to make up a list. And I'd offer David a ride in the truck to see it from our point of view, particularly through Dalby, to see if he can keep his backside on the seat over those culverts. Love to see them fixed. And, mate, I'd seek his support to help us get a few things done to make life better out there for truckies on the road.
There he is. He's offering you a ride in his Kenworth to go over these culverts in Dalby so that you can experience it for yourself, David.
Well, I'd love to do that, and I'll make sure I reach out to him, because I can tell you the big problem they've got around Dalby is, after 100 years, we still haven't learned how to build a road black soil. And that's the problem we've always had around Dalby. There's been, when we were in government, we put over $700 million into the Warrego Highway. But I agree. I went to Chinchilla the other day, and in places there, it's a dog's breakfast. And got to say, once you get past Roma, there's a few places where it starts to iron out a bit, and it gets okay because it's harder ground and the roads hold together. But yeah, I'd be keen to get hold of those, because we've got a situation where the federal government, unfortunately, we used to do an 80-20 split on national highways. And what Albanese's taken back to is 50-50. So the states now, and unfortunately even here in Queensland, there's two states up here. There's southeast Queensland, there's Queensland. Yeah. Everything goes into southeast Queensland, and the rest of us get 3/5 of bugger all. And particularly now they've gone to 80-20, everything's going to southeast Queensland. So very keen to get those specific 9 culverts and some toilets up at Longreach. Okay. Definitely. Yeah.
And would you be, if we can align it all, would you be interested in going for a ride in his Kenworth?
Hell yeah, yeah. I do a run to Birdsville and back at least once a year, sometimes 2 times a year. So I take a different route. So I'll go out along the New South Wales border, and then come up to Birdsville, and then come back via Baduri, Bullia, in through Winton, Longreach, and come all the way down the Warrego home to near Warwick. So
okay.
I do that at least once a year, so I get a feeling of the roads, and that's a 10-day trip. Obviously, I'm not in as big a hurry as Rod to deliver cargo. I'm doing pulling up and having a beer at a few places and saying g'day. But I do that every July, August. So I'll be definitely keen to go for a run with him.
Well, the trucking industry is under a lot of pressure, and we're finding it very difficult to find young people who want to get behind the wheel. If you'll pardon the pun, there's a lot of speed humps, and it is a very difficult job, and it can strain marriages, families, relationships, but it's also bloody dangerous. And truck drivers' mental health issues, there's a lot to it. And without trucks and without access to diesel and AdBlue, our supermarkets don't get their groceries, and we don't get fuel under the ground at the servos.
Well, and this is where, they're looking at this taking out this fuel excise at the end of June. I think there's a case for the federal government, if they're worried about staying in there for too long, they can't afford it. I get that. There is still needed for support for our trucking industry, our heavy transport industry, because that's not inflationary. If we help them on the road user charge, take away some of this stuff that is adding to their costs, that actually isn't inflationary, because what it means is, as you've just said, your groceries turn up to the supermarket cheaper. And this is where, if we're going to be targeted in our support and use some common sense as federal governments, Albanese should go, right, yes, there's been the pain's come off in terms of the fuel and the supplies are flowing around, but the pain in terms of what's happening for trucking industry, and if you look at the liquidations of businesses, trucking industry is right up there, because their costs, they're the ones in the middle that get squeezed from the supplier right through to the supermarket. Yep. And they're the guy in the middle that gets nailed. And this is where federal government, if they wanted to be targeted, could target in continuing to give further support to the heavy transport industry around road user charge relief and others, excise, the whole shebang, to be able to give them the relief that'll actually help us all. That'll mean our groceries turn up and our building supplies turn up cheaper. Everything turns up cheaper. That is the sector of the economy that keeps the economy going. Energy and transport is the economy.
Isn't it what? And I think there's a lot of frustration with the lack of communication between the states and the federal government. Some states have some rules, some states have other rules. An overly zealous NHVR, National Heavy Vehicle Regulator, all of that, and it needs to somehow be brought together so that Rod Hannifey doesn't want life to be made unnecessarily easier, but he doesn't mind rules so long as it's all in the name of road safety and not about revenue. But it's a conversation you can have with Rod in his Kenwood, okay? He's Kenworth. He's Kenworth. I just said Kenwood again. We're not baking cakes. It's his blue truck right Kenworth. It's very impressive. And I'll see if I can get you guys together.
Yeah, well, obviously, I'll go and chase his number. If he's rung the office, we'll have his contact details.
Oh, we'll send it to you. Yeah. I'll send you his email, his phone number, and everything. He would love to meet you.
That'd be great.
David Littleproud, thank you so much for your opinions today. I was going to say have a lovely day off.
Queenslanders are keeping the economy going again.
Oh.
I'll keep going for you.
And commiserations over game 2.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens.
Do you know what?
Ashley Klein will make it hard again, I suspect.
Yeah, and will Reece Walsh be in the team?
No, I don't think he will.
The Broncos are running busted at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, but I'm a Bulldogs man, so I can't actually...
What about Manly? Kieran Foz.
Yeah, I know.
Pine Park of Brookvale, they're calling it now.
They're the Silvertails. I'm a Dogs man. All my life I've been a Dogs man, and it's up and down at the moment. So hopefully today we beat Para. So I will have, actually, I won't lie, I will sneak the TV on at 3:30 to watch the Bulldogs play Parramatta.
Okay, listen, you do that, but I've got to say I'm a massive Manly fan, as you know, born and bred on the beaches. But two of my favourite players of all time is Steve Mortimer Turvey and Terry Lamb. So there you are.
Well, Terry Lamb's the reason I stay with the Bulldogs, and Stevie Mortimer, he's obviously not well.
No, we think of him too. We think of him.
I saw his son not long ago. He's a great man, and Peter, his brother out at Orange, is a great fella as well. And Terry Lamb, Terry Lamb was the reason I always stuck with the Bulldogs. I used to have him all over my walls at home. And he in the 1988 grand final against Balmain, he squared up with Ellery Hanley, and Ellery didn't play another part of the game, and that was when I was sold on the Bulldogs. Yeah, as a young boy, I'd always gone for the Dogs.
Warren Ryan was the coach, I think, from memory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone went back to the Broncos, and I went because the Broncos started that year, 88, and I refused to go because I was a Bulldogs man and Terry Lamb man. So,
well, I'll tell you something. That first year the Broncos entered, it was like a state of origin team entering the NRL. And the first game of that season was against Manly, the reigning premiers.
That's right.
And they lapped us. And I thought, my God, look at this team from Brisbane beating the reigning premiers. We are in for a shock, folks. We are in for a shock. I'll never forget it. Anyway, hey, David, good to talk.
Yeah, always. Thanks for having me.
Truckie Tuesday is up next, and it's all made possible thanks to GME. The Aussie experts in communication tech for over 65 years. 10-4 good buddies. Whether you're passing vital road info onto the convoy, calling out a hazard ahead, or telling old mate to get off Channel 40 because it ain't a bloody karaoke bar, GME's got the gear to keep your connection steady and crystal clear. Truckie Tuesday is straight ahead. And a very, very big hello and a 10-4 good buddy to all of you out there. It's time for Truckie Tuesday. It's episode 114. And I'm the co-driver. The main driver is Rod Hannifey from Truck Right. He joins me now. Rocket Rod, g'day.
Good morning, mate. I'm here in sunny Sydney.
Yes, I can see you. And you look like you're bathing in sunshine. Fantastic. You're very high vis today. Can I just say that? Kelsey, can you pass my sunglasses, please? It's reflecting off not only his shirt, but the top of his head.
So thank you very much, mate. Yes, you'll get on.
And, Rod, we've invited a very, very special guest on to Truckie Tuesday today. It is Mike the Oz Trucker Williams, well-known truck driver, trucking advocate, and a media superstar. And he's on the line as well. G'day, champion.
Media superstar? Geez, I'm not sure I'd qualify that. You're the media superstar, mate, not me.
Well, anyway, look, it's great to have you aboard. It was lovely to meet you at the studios of 2SM in Sydney on Friday. You look exactly how I pictured.
Thank you so much, mate. That bad.
I don't know if that's a compliment, brother. I don't know if that's a compliment. I would take it. I
will take it. I've got a good head for radio, let's put it that way.
Yeah, join the club. And look at Rod. He's got a great head for truck driving.
Thank you.
But Rod, you wanted to invite Mike on for a few reasons.
Yes. So Mike has had a varied career. He obviously has spent a lot of time interstate driving, spent a bit of time over in the West doing quads. He was also the editor of Truck and Life, and he was responsible for getting up our T-shirts that somebody had decided to throw in the bin. So I did apologise for that. Not our doing, Mike, but appreciate your support. Mike's moved on from there, but he's also What episode are you up to in the podcast, Mike?
320 or something.
300, yes. I couldn't remember 300 what it was. I did listen the other day, but that's because somebody I knew was on there. Mate, so you've been doing that for quite a long time and you've been passionate. You joined the NRFA. You were a part of there. You actually won the Noel Porter Award at the NRFA. 3 awards. They have the Noel Porter Award for a male involved in the trucking industry that's done more than just their job, that's contributed to the industry. We have a lady award as well. Now, Glenn Searle, we've spoken to, has won that award in the past, as have I many years ago. Made it something that we give out each year to recognise those who go out of their way to help improve the industry. And Mike's certainly been doing that for a long time. He's a vocal voice. He's been known to be a little bit outspoken, just a little bit, maybe that much or that much, or a bit more than that. So he's got his views, mate, and we thought it was worth him coming on to have a bit of a chat and say g'day. He's always wanted to catch up with you as well, Luke.
I thought you said the Cole Porter Awards, and I thought maybe he'd won some sort of Tony Award for his starring role in Kiss Me Kate. So I completely did the wrong research on that. I thought it was the Cole Porter Award.
Because if you were Kate, you'd be running the other way, wouldn't you?
Anyway, there's a lot to talk about. What do you see as the number one big issue, Mike, facing the trucking industry today?
Honesty. And I say that in a pragmatic way. We're not honest with ourselves about the things that really do need to be addressed. Things like driver retention, the real reason we can't keep drivers in there behind the wheel. The reason we can't get good drivers. Mate, something like 30-odd% of drivers under 35 are saying they can't see themselves in the industry in 5 years. What are we doing wrong? You know, the things like the rest areas that Rod goes on about. Why can we not give people not just a place to have a rest? Why can't we give them a good place to have a rest? These are the issues that I see are important, mate, and the things that I've talked about ad infinitum for the last several years.
Yes, Mike. And then, of course, there's, as you say, there's not a driver shortage. There's a shortage of people who want to do the job. And there's a number of factors behind that. We're not simply talking money, although that's a part of it, when you look at the lifestyle. So by the time I get home, I haven't been home for 2 weeks. I've lived in my truck for 2 weeks. Mate, my Rod's rant later on, Luke, will be about our hours regime and how ridiculously inflexible it is. And Mike knows all about that. There is simply all of these people telling us how to do a job that they couldn't or wouldn't do, and they have no empathy for what we give up out of our lives to make theirs better. The roads, mate, yesterday, coming out of Melbourne, there were 50 potholes. Some of them were like a foot across. There were 3 cars broken down on the side of the road with damaged tyres or rims. And I rang Vic Roads and I said, I think you'd better get some crew out. Now, this is Friday afternoon on a long weekend, so I'm sure they'd have been happy to get the overtime. But, mate, I said, you're going to end up with $50,000 bills from cars damaging tyres and rims. There's already 3 on the side of the road. And it had a mate ring me the night before, and he sent me a photo and had this bright light at his feet. And I thought, So I sent him a message back, beam me up, Scotty. But he was trying to show me a big pothole just out of Dubbo. He had rang, wife rang, the lady who damaged her rim and couldn't get home, she rang. And they sort of said, oh, yeah, that's interesting. And I said, well, if you really think it's that bad, ring the police. And they did. The pothole was fixed by the next morning. But again, you know, we are trying to save people's lives, not just truck drivers, car drivers as well. And I don't think we're ever given the credit for the good we do. We're certainly castigated when there's a crash. But, Mike, would you agree with me that we save more lives than we end, and the most of those that we end are not our fault? That's statistically proven. It's not just my view. And yet we're never recognised because you think, I'm watching that car, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to slow down, or I'm going to watch that bloke. And we save lives every day, and we're never recognised for it.
It's quite apparent when you're driving around, particularly on the motorways in the capital cities. You know, we're watching what's going on in front of us. We've got to be completely aware of what's going on all around us. You're looking down the road, and I don't know about you, Rod, but I can identify people that might cause me a problem or do something silly. They just by the way they behave with what they're doing. The number of people I see in the right-hand lane who want to get off over there, stick their indicator on and just go, good luck, everybody. From our actions, save more people than we harm. And as you rightfully say, there's not a lot of recognition for the professionalism that does exist for the vast majority of drivers in this industry. You know, it makes it very, very bloody hard, particularly when, you know, we're losing good people because of some of the pressures that we're under. I mean, you've only got to look at the regulatory compliance burden we've got now. The HVNL is just it's a sick joke. The slow reform, the broken national system, so-called national system, fragmented rules, state tendering productivity, high productivity vehicles, all this stuff, fatigue management rules that just don't work, don't match across the country.
Yes, mate. And I was talking to Josh last night. He's rang in before Luke was talking to Josh. He said, I'm frustrated and I've only been involved in this for 2 years. He said, I really know how you feel at times. And that's what it is. It's not like we want everything fixed tomorrow. That's unreasonable. It's not possible. Perfect roads aren't going to happen. But we want the bad bits fixed. We want a fair go. We want a little bit of empathy. We want motorists educated about sharing the roads with trucks. And it's not just because that would make me feel good or, you know, I'll get a badge of honour. It's because people will actually get home from a trip instead of getting killed.
Something I wanted to get both your opinions on. Here we are in the wake of another long weekend everywhere except WA. The King's birthday long weekend, lots of extra traffic on the roads. And so, of course, every time this happens, the topic of double demerit points comes up. So it's an interesting debate. I'm dying to hear what you both have to say. But there's an interesting debate. We'll stick with New South Wales. In New South Wales, of course, you start with 0 and you've got 13 to play with. You get above 13, you've lost your licence. Professional drivers get 14. The argument is, and it's a reasonable argument, professional drivers are on the road for longer and for more, and so therefore they should be given a bit of leeway. The other argument, though, is that professional drivers should know better. Why should they be given an extra demerit point and be able to have 14 to play with? Who wants to go first?
I'm recalcitrant and very slow, but I'm going to go first because I listened to you the other day and I heard you finally got a ticket. Now, you should have fought that because in New South Wales, if you get one ticket in 10 years and you write in and say, here's my record, blah, 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 they will normally give you a Section 10. As far as I'm aware, New South Wales is the only state that does that.
Well, just Mike, let me just give it some context. I'm kicking myself. I got done 45 in a 40 school zone. The school was my old school. I mean, I know that it's Narrabeen High. Yeah, I could not believe it. And it's a $600 and something fine, but it's the 2 demerit points that I've gained that has really upset me because I had a absolutely perfect record for many, many years. It's killed me. I'm so disappointed because I was so proud of having my 13 demerit points intact. I spoke to James Glisson. He said, yes, Rod, I did stand a pretty good chance, but he said, you might have to go to court, and there's a day out of my life.
Shouldn't have to go to court for that one, Luke. And look, you know, people say, geez, 45 in the school zone, lots of kids around. But that's a perfect example. You weren't deliberately speeding. You might have been watching a kid on the side of the road instead of watching the speedo. And, you know, that's what we would prefer you to do. We don't want you to speed, but we also want you to watch what's going on. Now, Mike said it a minute ago. We have to watch every other vehicle as though they are a potential risk. We have the load. We have the hours. We have the truck to manage. They are bigger. They take longer to get going. They take longer to stop. They need more room to get round corners. And do you want us watching the speedo so I don't hit 102 at the bottom of a hill? Yeah. Or do you actually want us watching 100 metres, 500 metres down the road to see the car that's about to pull out of the servo or whatever it is? We have to manage that in the traffic flow. And again, Luke, you know, you pull up, you put your foot on the brake, you put on the accelerator, the car goes. We pull up, you're 65 tonne, you've got to start from nothing. You've got all these cars, well, the bloody trucks hold me up, get out of the way, I want to be there. They've got to pass you when there's no room. They zip across 3 lanes in front of you because they couldn't wait behind the truck to take the exit. Mate, happened 10 minutes ago. I'm in a 50k zone. This bloke's done 64 kilometres an hour to get past me to go through the roundabout and turn into the shops. Like, he really had to get there.
So getting back to my original question, should professional drivers be given a 1 demerit point leeway? the argument against that is that they should know better. They're professional drivers. Mike?
I say no. I don't think they should. I don't think we should get an extra point.
Wow.
And the reason for that is simply this. I'm 63 years old. I've been driving since I was like 17. In that time, look, in my younger days, mate, I was a tear-ass. I really was. But since I've been a professional driver, in 20 years, I've had 3 fines. The last one was I got done on a camera going out of a rest area on the Ute, actually putting my seatbelt on as I went out the camera, out the end of the rest area. I got done on a camera.
Right.
I was a bit dirty on that one.
Because you were actually in the process of putting it on.
Yeah, but the truck was moving.
Yep.
So there's a line in the sand, Luke, and we've got to appreciate it. I mean, the same as your 45. But at the end of the day, what Rod says is 100% correct. If I drive through a school zone or anywhere, you know, we're looking around what's going on. I hate school zones, and I personally hate school zones because sometimes you don't know what the time is.
Oh, look,
some are flashing signs and some don't.
Yeah, look, I certainly wasn't overtaking anyone. I would have been going with the flow of the traffic. Well aware, mate, that school's there. So I'm kicking myself. I'm absolutely spewing because I know the school's there. And again, I was so proud of my perfect record, Rod.
I have a comment here that we got from Matt Harbour Photo, and I just wanted to read it out for all of you guys. So Matt says, Luke, someone is going to die at Arimba M1 northbound. 3 nights in a row, they have set up roadworks with temporary traffic lights at the bottom of the hill with no warning at the top of the hill, so us blokes can select right gear and proceed down the hill in correct gear, preparing to stop. The way it is, we are barreling down the hill not knowing there's a stop traffic at the bottom coming up at the last bend, cooking brakes and trying to slow up. We are voicing our concerns with traffic control over UHF and just cop ignorance and abuse. I even called police last night and got dismissed. Someone is going to die when they set up with warning at the top of the hill.
Yeah, had the same thing coming out of Emerald the other day. There's a big long hill there that runs down the range. And virtually it's 3 or 4 kilometres. It is a trucks use low gear area. But I came down there in a road train at 82 tonne, I think I was. And virtually at the bottom there was roadworks ahead, 80, 60, 40, stop. And I called the bloke up on the UHF, mate, and I said, look, appreciate you doing the work, but I really think for your own safety and for ours, at least if there was a sign at the top that gave me some warning you're there, that would be safer for everybody. Now, whether they acted on it or not, and look, old mate's done the right thing. He's rang up, he's reported it, he's given it from our point of view, and that's where it's really disconcerting that they don't listen, Luke. We don't ring up because we've got nothing better to do with our time. We are offering a view that they don't hold as truck drivers. If you have a look down there, there's some pretty long skid marks down there that you can bank up at the bottom where it goes off the exit. So that in itself is an issue. And if they won't listen, then no wonder people have accidents on the road when we as drivers, truck drivers, are not considered, not consulted, and not given a chance to offer our views.
You know, a UHF isn't just an accessory. It's a lifeline. It's exactly why I'm stoked to have GME on the Bonafide Podcast. They're the only Australian manufacturer of UHF CB radios and emergency beacons, operating right out of a purpose-built HQ in Sydney. You want to know how many locals they keep in steady work? 250. And the gear they build doesn't just keep the Bonafide family safe on the road. It's engineered specifically to handle the bull dust, the corrugations, and the longest hauls you can throw at it. If you love Truckie Tuesday, back the brand that backs us. Head over to gme.net.au. That's gme.net.au. Links are in the description. Let's get back to the chat.
I think the problem with it is that's what Rod said, that the point of view that we have behind the wheel and the machinery that we're in control of is something that's just incomprehensible to some people. They've got no idea. By the time you realise what's going on, it's way too late to do anything about it. And unfortunately, the guys, particularly with the roadworks, I mean, I've got so many issues with roadworks, it's ridiculous. I drove around the M7 the other day coming south, and, 5 or 6 kilometres or 40 kilometres now for nothing at all. and then they wonder why people take no notice of roadwork signs. You know, we put ourselves in danger for no good cause, and we're very, very easy to kill. You know, that's a shocking thing you see on the road.
I had an issue with roadworks, nothing like you guys have to deal with. I'm driving to work the other morning, 3:10, trying to get to 3:30. Roadworks at the end of Eastern Valley Way, getting onto the Brook Street exit onto the Warringah Freeway, cut off.
Yep.
Detour.
Yep.
And an arrow pointing right. So I went right. I'm now with my GPS. Okay, how am I going to negotiate this? It took me straight back there going the other way. So I said, I'm trying to get to work. Where do I go? He said, just go up there. But there was no other sign saying city detour, follow this. I was completely lost. Eventually I got to Berry Street, St Leonard's, and then down to North Sydney and back onto the Harbour Bridge that way. But it was hard. If there was a second sign saying city detour and an arrow, it would have been a lot easier. But it was just detour. That was it.
Well, you know, road trains and things like that. Mate, I was over in Perth in Western Australia when I was driving the big ones. I'm driving a pocket road train north into Perth. They've decided that they're going to cut off the motorway and do a little bit of roadworks there, detour off to the left. They've set me off to the left. I've gone down. There's a sign with a detour sign to the right. Here am I in a bloody pocket road train in the back of a supermarket. And the police on the motorbike came up and said to me, what are you doing here? And I told them. They laughed and said, this sort of stuff happens all the time. People don't think about anything other than what's right in front of them. See it with, you know, roadworks that go on all over the place. You'll get directed off the side of the road with bridge vans and taut liners on, traffic signs sticking out of telephone poles into the lane on 2-lane roads. You will hit if you stay where you are. Low tree branches, low power lines. And these people are getting paid a bloody fortune to manage the traffic. You know, it's not as if they're doing it for free. And the consequences for us as drivers when we get stuck in these circumstances, if we get caught there, not only are we burning time off our logbook, but we've got the capital risk of the damage to our equipment and, of course, the reputational risk. Because when we do something bad enough, it ends up as a story on the Channel 9 News at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. Kelsey, we've got some voice messages. Boys, we've got some voice messages we want to play.
Yep.
This is a voice message from Ross. Have a listen.
It's Trucker Ross here from the Northern Beaches. Long-time listeners, you know, since the first podcast. Hey, listening to Rod the other day, I just jumped onto an EWD, and I'd like to know what the review Rod was talking about the other day into these electronic work diaries. Also, if it's possible, I'd like to know which company he's using. I'm not sure if you can mention it, but would like to know who he's gone with. I started one 4 weeks ago and absolutely live and breathe by it now. So yeah, hey, keep up the good work. Really appreciate the show.
Good on you, Ross. Okay, I'll let you both take turns at this. EWD's electronic work diaries. Roddy wants more info.
Review is being done by the NHVR, assisted by TCA, and TC's had a hand in it. I did ring them to see where it was going and what it's doing. They're saying that some of those that have been approved as an accepted device, where there have been modifications or changes or updates, they're concerned that those updates have made them not as compliant. They're reviewing all of that. I'm told that we will get to consult. I don't know when or how, but we certainly haven't been thus far. And I'm using Hub Fleet, and I'm very happy with it. I would recommend it to any other driver out there. It does help. You don't give your hours away, so you pull up at 10 past, you don't have to write it back. It counts by the minute. It counts those hours up for you, so you don't have worried about getting caught after you've gone through the event and done it. And it gives you warnings to let you know that those limits are coming up. So valuable that way.
Yeah, you've spoken very highly of Hub Fleet. We need to get them on because we need more people to use Hub Fleet. Mike?
Well, for me, I've used a couple of systems. I used Sentinel when I was with Unadera Tanker Hire, which is their specific system that they got everything integrated with all the pre-start checks and all the documentation that you can be sent and all that sort of thing. And I quite like Sentinel, but it's not something that everyone can use. These days, I'm no longer at UTH and I've got Hub Fleet, the same as Rod. I'm not going to poo-poo what they do. They all do the same thing in a different way. And as Rod said, Some of them might lead you a little bit astray sometimes, even though they are equipped. I've never had a problem with hub fleet, so that's the first thing. So for me personally, I like the electronic work diary because, as Rod said, counts all the hours for you, lets you know where you're going. You don't find yourself with a problem down the track. It's not a fix for fatigue. We all know that sometimes doing what's legal isn't necessarily what's sensible. The idea of the electronic work diary is great from the point of view that you sort of keep a good record of your time, and it draws the line in the sand. A lot of guys don't like logbooks at all, and I totally get it. At the end of the day, you have to be able to draw a line in the sand and be able to tell the operations guys, hey, this is it. I've done my hours. It's time for me to have a rest.
Yes. I think work diaries have saved a lot of lives and they've made the industry a lot more honest. But I think the EDs, and I'm not a truckie, but it makes a lot of sense. And I've been listening to Rod talk about it for many, many years now. We've got another voice message. This time it's from Corey. Let's have a listen.
Hello, Luke and Kel. It's Corey here from Queensland. I just got a bit of a gripe to talk about with Rod Hannifey. I know a lot of us are going over to EWDs, but I went into our local road transport for a new work diary or logbook. And I'm a bit amused and annoyed the way the prices keep going up and up and up. Now, when I started driving about 10 years ago, logbooks were $22. I'm now just recently paid on the 3rd of the 6th, $31, and I said to the lady, I said, oh, they're gone up again. Last logbook before that was $28. And then the lady at the counter said, yep, and they're going to go up again, probably about another $4. Now, I've got the shits with it. Yes, we need, it's a requirement we need, but it's now getting up close to $40 a book. Every 6 months, and yes, you can claim it all on tax, and there's EWDs, and there's ways around it. But the thing is, the logbook I just replaced had fallen apart by about halfway through the book. The staples had pulled out, the glue on the back had let go, and it sits in a leather case. I bought a leather case from the Gold Nugget and Gympie, and it's quite resilient. You know, it gets bashed around and beaten and whatnot, looks after the logbook. But the logbook integrity is a pain in the ass. So for something that you pay $30 for and it falls apart in the first few months, and by the end of it, you're barely holding it together.
Oh dear, he's not having much luck. I'll let both of you comment. Mike, you want to go first?
Oh, mate, I feel his pain. I really do. One of the reasons why I was quite happy to switch to the electronic version. At the end of the day, I understand I feel his pain, but you've just got to go ahead and do with these things. If you want that flexibility to be able to make that manual 5-minute adjustment to get to where you want to be, you've got to use a paper book. And that's what you're paying for. Having said that, the other thing he didn't mention, I thought he was going to mention, is you're paying for the book that they're going to use to generate the evidence to give you the ticket with. That was the one thing that always used to annoy me. So, I feel his pain. They're going to get more expensive. The printing costs are what they are. In my view, honestly, if they want you to do the logbook, then they should provide it for you to do for free. I've always thought that, and I've said it months before. There you go.
Rod.
There's a warranty. You paid for it. Your book fell apart halfway through. I'd be taking it back and saying, sorry, this is not fit for purpose. Draw me a new one. So, everybody else has got to be held responsible. So I'd say I want one for free. Yours fell apart. I want a new one. And what are they going to do?
How long is the warranty on a work diary?
Well, he's only had it 3 months. He said he buys one every 6 months. So use 3 a year. There's 100 pages, Luke.
Yeah.
So it's 365 days in a year. It's not unlikely you can use 2 or 3, 2 in 1 year, 3 in the next. He's only had it 6 months. The date's written on the front of it. So, he should have taken it back and asked for a refund or a freebie.
Okay, but another great reason to go to the EWDs. Now, there's a couple of truckie stories here you both may want to comment on, and one of them is about Australia's small fleet operators, and the headline is "Small Operators Falling Behind as the Truckie World Divides." Australia's trucking industry is increasingly divided between large fleets enjoying growth and smaller operators battling to stay afloat, according to a new survey presented at the Australian Trucking Association's annual conference, which was on Hamilton Island. What do you make of this, Rod?
It's been a progressive thing. It's hard for the smaller ones to keep up. The compliance level is increasing. The HV and L2 will only exacerbate that. The big companies have the purchasing power. They buy their trucks in lots, their tyres in hundreds, their litres in thousands, and they get a better price. And then, of course, they employ subbies to go and work for them and pay them less than what their own costs are. So I'm afraid it's the way of big business. It's no different to Coles and Woolies taking over everything else.
Well, Wesfarmers has taken over Australia. Mike?
I only talked about this on my own podcast yesterday. In fact, that's where I got the statistic from about the 35-year-old drivers. I do want to say, I've got the article open in front of me as we speak because I'm desperately trying to find the line. I don't think this is a new thing at all. I think this study was done several years ago. And for me, I think 2023 or 2024 sort of rings a bell. April 23, sponsored by BP, NTI and Volvo, capturing data from 503 trucking businesses across Australia in April 2023. We're presenting that at the Hamilton Island conference for the ATA.
There it is.
Now, mate, how many owner-drivers would have been at that conference, do you reckon?
Well, it's very hard to drive there. Can I just say that?
It's pretty difficult to drive there.
Yeah.
How many drivers can find the time to get out of their schedule and go to something like Hamilton Island, Rod?
It's a rort.
It's a rort.
Yeah, look, I've been to some of the conventions and I said at the time, you need more drivers and owner drivers, and they set up a program to bring people the next year, and then they never followed through. So you're right.
I'm perfectly happy to cut into the ATA. From my point of view, they are not interested in what goes on with drivers. They're preaching to the converted. The professional sandwich and biscuit eaters are getting up there at these conferences, right, and talking about stuff. All they're interested in is their bottom line. They'd have been up there. I called it on my podcast a circle jerk, because that is exactly what it is. They've got no interest in what we've got to say. All they're interested in is what is going on and what's best for them. They'd have been up there moaning about the price of fuel and the fact that their drivers are costing them too much and all that sort of stuff. If they addressed the first couple of issues with drivers, solved their retention problems and all that sort of stuff, they wouldn't have to worry about any of this stuff. Ben Selwyn, the Director of Market Research, Fifth Quadrant, was the guy that sort of did all this and was presenting all this. I've got to ask you, how much would this bloke actually know? Bugger all.
All right.
Do you want me to stop now, Luke? Have I done enough? You got me on. You pushed me button, mate. I'm sorry.
Well. I mean, I've got Rod's rant coming up. That can be Mike's rant. And by the way, it's more than biscuits, tea, and sandwiches, because afterwards there's crownies. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've never been to one of those, mate, so I don't know. I'm not sure I'd even get through the door. They'd see me coming and someone would...
You'd be censored. Hey, listen, this is something interesting. The future of Australia's road transport industry is going to be shaped by a sweeping package of regulatory reforms, new technology, and a fundamental rethink of how heavy truck vehicles are governed. Delegates at the Trucking Australia 2026 heard. Representatives from the National Transport Commission, the NTC, and the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator outline major changes already underway.
There goes the rest of the drivers that are sort of over 55. They will wander away quite happily. I did an interview with a bloke named Gordon McGill, which is going to come up on my midweek podcast this week. He's written a book called The End of the Road, The War on Truckers. Now, all you've got to do is take out the North American aspect of that book and insert Australian. It's the same there. It's the same here as it is there. We're talking about automatic trucks, or autonomous trucks, sorry. Who's going to do all the extra unpaid work that we now do? Fair suck to the sad. There's a reason why drivers, one of the reasons why they leave is they don't get paid for the waiting time. They don't get paid for any of this other stuff that we do, the loading, the unloading sometimes. A lot of us do, but some don't. Drivers are not being treated fairly in these things. This is what I'm talking about, this bloody rubbish up at Hamilton Island. They're up there talking about all this stuff.
Yeah.
They want to try and change the industry as best to suit them. They're talking about more compliance. They're talking about autonomous trucks. They're talking about all those sort of things. Change is not necessarily good. As Rod has probably said 100 times, and I'll say it right here for you, the trucking industry underpins every other industry in this country. nothing is truer than saying without trucks, Australia stops, because if we stop carting the grain, stop carting the fertiliser, stop carting the fuel, stop carting the groceries and all the other stuff that we cart, what happens?
The country comes to a standstill. Interesting, Rod. We had a discussion about this on our previous podcast. The Minns government in New South Wales is going to give a go-ahead next year, 2027, to allow autonomous Ubers and rideshare vehicles. I wouldn't get in one, but anyway, Rod, what are your thoughts on all of this?
Look, the ATA represents itself as the peak industry body. And look, I was past president of NRFA. We had a conference too. And you do need those things to talk. And mate, I won the ATA Driver of the Year competition many years ago, recognised those that made the effort. So, look, it's not all bad, but when the majority of people there aren't the ones on the road and affected by it, when they don't try to include them, and I'll give credit here, David Simon, the owner of Simon National Carriers, he got up at one of those ATA conventions that I attended, and he said, without drivers, none of us have got a business. Now, he's the only bloke I've ever heard say that at an ATA convention. I've attended, I've put in requests to the Parliament, I've asked them to try and get drivers there, and I'm not saying that it's completely frivolous, and Mike's got a view and he's entitled to it. There is some value, but it could be better and it could be a lot more important if more drivers got involved. And look, they're not saying they can't be, but it's to the point where, as you say, you can't drive there. It costs a lot of money to go to have a say. Therefore, most blokes don't have the time and they won't get recognised and we won't get their views. And that really concerns me.
Mike?
As Rod said, the likes of Simon and Scotty Hanna, and there's probably a few other guys that I can think of that own trucks who are fully aware that their drivers are probably one of their greatest assets, or at least they should be. And they treat their drivers in a way. I mean, I've never worked for either of them, so I don't know. All I know is what I see on the road, and the reality for a lot of people is that's what they see on the road. Now, my point of view about the associations and things like that, Rod rightly says I've got a point of view and that's mine, but I don't think it's entirely unwelcome, the associations and the conferences. I think they're necessary. I've been to a few. But the problem with it is that the guys out there who really need to understand what's going on, these are the guys that have got their head down, arse up, carrying the country, underpinning every other industry, as I said before. And when they find out these things are going on, too late to make the time, or it's already happened. How many times has that happened, Rod?
Yeah, every time just about, mate.
So, this is why I get a little bit dirty on these guys, because, as Rod says, he's been a representative on the ATA. I know that. If I ever find myself in the game doing half as much as what Rod's done, and I'm not peeing in his pocket there, I'll be quite happy with my success and my achievements.
Well, if you win the award, you might get a trip to Hamilton Island.
I don't think I'll ever win an award from the ATA. I just don't think that'll happen. But we have a situation in this business where we do need to start taking a pragmatic point of view.
Moving on, because you've both got somewhere to go. Rod, and now, folks, have we got an opener for this? Can we get an opener for this? And now, on Truckie Tuesday, it's time for Rod's rant.
Yes, it is. So, mate, had a busy couple of weeks, and I pulled up last night at President's Nest with 1 minute to spare.
Right.
I was at 16 hours and 59 minutes in my 17 hours usable time. I was at 13 hours and 59 minutes of my allowable work time. I've gone and looked and I thought, okay, this is good. I'm going into Sydney. Now, I didn't have time to get the truck washed. I didn't have time to stop and go into a roadhouse to get a decent meal. I didn't have time to have a shower. And again, when I started the day, you have a plan. But things change that and you get to that end of it. Now, technically, had I been another minute late, okay, I've got an EWD, I have a tolerance. But now I'm at the point, Luke, where luckily my son is coming in and I'm hoping he's bringing me breakfast and a coffee as well, because he's coming in to technically load me, because if I load and unload, I haven't got enough hours to get home to Dubbo. And I haven't been there for 2 weeks now. And I tell you right now, I'm not stopping on the side of the road half an hour from home to have a 24-hour break. So all we want is a bit of flexibility and an understanding that it's better for me to get home, see the family, debrief, have a bit of a break, and instead of sitting on the road at bloody Wellington for 24 hours because I'm 30 minutes from home because of what I did in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you've kind of talked about that situation before. Mike, we've had Rod's rant. Let's have Mike's moment.
Mike's moment. You've already had the moment, mate. The way we do things in this country is sometimes absolutely mind-blowingly silly. Here's an example. This is the one that really grinds my gears right now, and it's got to do with rest and work diaries and things like that. I can pull up in a rest area where there is some exercise equipment. I can go over that exercise equipment and spend 30 minutes working out, getting up a sweat, getting those abs ripped and all that sort of thing. That's fine. I can do that, not a problem. But if I walk around and tap the tyres on my truck and have a bit of a look at my load, that's called work, and you're not allowed to do it. It's in the book. This is the level of stupidity we've got to deal with the regulators. Unbelievable. That's my moment, mate.
Mike's moment, Rod's rant. Now listen, Kelsey, the millennial, tells me we are going to the. Are we? Just nod. She's cutting her hair and doing her nails. Right. What are you doing?
Off my split ends.
This is what she does.
Yeah.
When she produces the podcast, she cuts her hair, does her split ends, does her nails. Are we going to the casino truck show later this year?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Jono, who does songs for us here, Mike, on the Bonafide Podcast, Truckie Tuesday.
AI songs.
I know. My mate Jono. We played one of the songs he helped me produce yesterday on Chris's show.
Okay, but now we're talking about a show that has listeners. Can we keep moving?
Luke.
So anyway, this is the song that Jono AI'd for us on the Casino Truck Show. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Trying to make the chrome shine. And there's a call from Houston, said, mate, can you kill that light? We all knew who they meant. The truck parked down the right. Casino lights, Friday night. Whole town burning bright. Chrome flashing, crowds packed in. Here we go again.
Oh, sorry, I got carried away. How good is that? And
excellent.
That is much better than the AI thing they came up with for the theme to Toy Story 5. Much better than that AI piece of crap.
I'm deleting that out of it.
You're so easy. It's like reeling in a GT off Line Island. Unbelievable, Kelsey. Mike, thank you, brother.
Joe Byrne on your show.
Mate, when do we hear you? What's your podcast?
On the Road Podcast via any of the apps. You can have a bit of a listen to there. 2 shows a week, mate.
Absolute pleasure to meet you finally on Friday. So hopefully we'll see each other again soon.
Thanks, Rod.
Rod Hannifey, thank you so much, brother.
Mate, I'm going to do another cross-pollination, Luke.
Yes.
So Mr. Tarvy's podcast that was out, the 100, was it Lifestyle Tips and Stories? And we're making it into a book, but I listened to every one of those 100. I've got a son who looks like he might be going into property, so that might be good for him. I've tried to put them onto it. So highly recommend Mr. Tarby. I'd love to meet him one day. And then also, mate, you have Mr. Littleproud comes and visit and has a chat.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Littleproud has an office in Dalby.
Yep.
And I came back from Mount Isa the other day, and through Dalby there's about 9 culverts that can lift the wheels off the ground in a fully loaded road track. I did speak to his office. I'd really like his support to get them fixed. It is his area. And I had a mate ring me yesterday. He'd like to see some toilets at Longreach and a few other things. And he was getting onto the local member in Toowoomba. So we're going to make up a list. And I'd offer David a ride in the truck to see it from our point of view, particularly through Dalby. See if he can keep his backside on the seat over those culverts. Love to see them fixed. And, mate, I'd seek his support to help us get a few things done to make life better out there for truckies on the road.
Hey, listen, mate, I get things done. I talk to David Littleproud every fortnight. When am I due to talk to David? Is it this week or next week, Millennial? Is it this week? I will put that to him. Okay, send me all the details, Rod, and I'll put it to him, okay? Because that's what they're there for. Safe driving. Get back to Dubbo soon. Nice and safe. I hope your son comes and helps you load because we want you in your own bed tonight, not in the back of the Kenworth at Wellington.
Cheers, mate. Safe travelling to all.
Mike, thank you, brother. A big, massive cheer for the folk at GME. Thank you for keeping the Aussie transport industry talking. It's engineered specifically to handle the bull dust, the corrugations, and the longest hauls you can throw at it. Head over to gme.net.au. That's gme.net.au. Links are in the description, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, the merch store is open. We're on all the apps, particularly Spotify and YouTube. Is that it?
Yeah.
What are the other ones?
Apple.
Are we?
iHeart, Goodreads. Yeah, that's how podcasts work, bro.
Are we on everything?
Yeah.
So please, thank you for visiting. Thank you for commenting. And please spread the word, where we don't tell you what to think, but we love to give you something to think about.
And what is your thought of the day?
I was thinking the other day, I used to have this really bad dandruff. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And someone said, you should get Nikki to give you Head and Shoulders.
Yeah.
And I thought, how do you give shoulders?
Why? Enough.
I'll get a better one.
Okay. You just have these like stored in a
Yeah, I think of them and I write them down. And then
cupboard somewhere.
I do. That's part of what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, thought of the day. I love, Kelsey, I love long walks, especially when they're taken by people who annoy me.
Very good. Bye.
Bye.